In order to locate the services agreement, log into Bobcat Buy and click on the Services Agreement button. Once you've clicked on the button, you will see all of the instructions available. Please read the instructions thoroughly and be sure to consult them anytime you're using the Services Agreement section. Please note there are also step-by-step instructions so that if you need any additional support, that's available to you as well. Click the Next button at the bottom right of the screen to go on to the next screen. Next, you'll need to select your supplier. Please note that these are all registered suppliers listed here. You do have the option of adding a supplier who is not available and going through the supplier onboarding process here as well. In order to do that, you'll need to select your supplier. For this example, we'll say that this is a supplier that's not registered in the system yet. So we'll type in not available and click the search button at the bottom right of the section. The not available supplier is available with the fulfillment center remit to address generically filled in. If that is the supplier we'd like to select, click select and you'll be able to upload your supplier onboarding information at the same time as you create your services agreement. For this example, let's go back to the previous screen. And let's select a supplier that does exist. So we'll type in the name, click the search button again, and we'll see that our supplier of Chiquita Bab is available. So we'll select her address, and she is currently at 809 West Annie Street. So we'll choose select and the next button. And we can see that she was successfully added to our request. In the attachment section, we can add all of the attachments necessary to process this service agreement. When adding attachments, please scan supplier setup documents separate from the contract documents, as the supplier documents will be removed once the supplier is set up. Select Add Attachment, click the Upload button. We'll need to give this a title, and then browse to where we need it to go. Once that's entered, select Save Changes, and Save Changes again. So we've added our onboarding documentation. If we do need to add additional documentation, for example, if it's a short form services agreement, we need to make sure that all pages of the contract are included, which includes the terms and conditions. If this is a services agreement contract, we need to make sure that the Exhibit A is attached. In order to do that, select again, Add Attachment, follow the same process. We will upload, give it a title, browse to where it is saved, and save changes. Now we can see that there are 2 attachments available here. Add as many attachments as needed. If you are completing a services agreement contract, please note that you will need to fill out the Exhibit A, which is the scope of work. The information you'll need to fill in here first is a detailed description of services. Be as detailed as you'd like. The fields do expand as more information is entered. Next, you'll need to enter the time for performance of services, which is the beginning date, ending date, and any deliverable dates as scoped out in the project. Allowable extensions is next, so if you need to extend the contract period, please enter that information here. Compensation is our next field that we need to enter. Please list any amounts or identify when suppliers may submit invoices. If there's a schedule of payment or any other documentation, please attach that as well to the services agreement form in Bobcat Buy. Location of services that will be performed, please make sure that those are all entered. If you have any supplemental documentation, please select the box that says check here if documentation is attached, and list all of your attachments. This will help contract services as they put together the services agreement contract and get it out to the supplier. Let's go back into Bobcat Buy and finish our services agreement. Now that we have everything attached, let's click the Next button at the bottom right of the screen to go on to the next form field. The first thing we need to do here is to select the service agreement type. We have our services agreement, PO terms only, supplier provided agreement, and short form services agreement. For this example, let's select the short form services agreement. Next, we need to supply the nature of service. Using the drop-down, you can see all of the information available. So we'll select the nature of service and we'll provide a start date and an end date. So our start date, we'll say will begin on the 28th of September and it will end on the 29th of September. Next, we need to give a description of services. And then we need to enter our payment details. So our unit price we'll say is $500. Our quantity we need to select is 1, and the unit of measure we need to select is each, EA. Once you have all of that information filled in, select the Next button at the bottom right of the screen to go on to the next page. In our Review and Submit section, we can see all of the fields have been entered. If we need to go back and add any more attachments, you can certainly do so by clicking on the Attachments link and adding more attachments. Please note you'll need to click Save Progress in order to go back to your Review and Submit. So we'll select Review and Submit, and here we'll select Add and Go to Cart. From the cart, we need to select our Edit Requisition field. If you remember in our example, we stated that this was a short form services agreement. So that requires us to update the external and internal attachments. One way that you can do that is by selecting Internal Notes and Attachments at the top portion of the screen, and then choosing from the two options that are attached, use the arrow to the right of the Remove link and move to External Attachments. Once you've marked your attachments for internal or external use, navigate to the Summary tab under the Requisition tab. In the Summary tab, you'll need to scroll down to the IT questions. Note that this is a required field. Click the Edit button to open the list of IT questions and use the drop-down to answer each question. By selecting Yes to any or all of the questions, you'll note that the approval for this requisition will change. So if I look at the Approvals tab, I can see that it does trigger an OIT review. If I go back and change any of those answers, and then visit the approvals, you'll note that the OIT review is no longer there. Once you've answered all of the IT questions and completed all of the required fields, click Submit Requisition.